What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of the Chasing Cashflow podcast. This is episode number 8.
We do, absolutely. In fact, I highly recommend it. If you want to make the most money out of your property, allow pets.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Cashflow podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and showing your support. And I hope you guys are all crushing your 2022 goals. Today's guest is absolutely amazing. So we're going to talk about, we were supposed to have his partner on as well, but unfortunately he was unable to make it. But our guest today is offering so much information. They grew their portfolio to over 60 units, out of state, in-state investing as well. We're going to talk about management, how to set up systems so that you can manage out of state. We're also going to go into a neat topic of allowing pets in your rentals. So this guest is a huge advocate for letting pets in your rentals because, you know, it offers the most amount of profit that you can make. And I know a lot of people just cringe when I said allowing pets in your rentals, but just hear him out. He talks about how to set up your rentals so that the pets don't totally destroy or limit the amount of destroying that they do. And, he just has a ton of information. He also wrote a book about all his personal experiences through real estate and how to win in real estate after the buy, which I think is crucial. A lot of people talk about, you win on the buy in real estate, which I 100% agree on, but you still have to have systems in place after the buy as well. You have to still run your business as a business and make it profitable, or else it's not going to work out. So, just think it's going to be a great podcast today. Hope you guys get a lot of information. Please feel free to reach out, whether it's on Instagram, Chasing Cashflow Podcast, Instagram, or email the Chasing Cashflow Podcast at gmail.com with any of your guys' critiques or how you guys are feeling about the podcast right now. I'd love to know that. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Cashflow podcast. Today we have a great guest in Casey Denby. How you doing today, Casey?
Hey, I'm great, Evan. Just glad to be here, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'm excited to have you on here. And we were supposed to have your partner on here as well, but apparently you are the better half.
This is what he says, but he can surf. I can golf. We'll talk about partnerships and why there's a good half and a different good half. We don't all have the same skill set, but yeah, he couldn't be here today, unfortunately, but happy to rep the rental property dudes.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's get right into it. Let's talk about how did you get started specifically first, and then we'll kind of talk about how you got Austin on there as well. But how did you get started in real estate investing?
You got it. Everybody has a pipe dream, right, Evan? And my pipe dream was, for some reason, owning a hotel chain. I don't know if Donald Trump was the inspiration. I don't think so. But for some reason, like the Marriott chains, the Hilton chains, it was just really inspiring, I think, to me as a young kid. And it wasn't until I found myself journeying in a third world country that I really started to formulate kind of my goals and my thoughts. And I was 19 years old. And that's when this pipe dream really became like, I want this, right? I want something in real estate. I want to invest in real estate. I started talking to other people about real estate. And then life happened, right? So I come back to the United States, go to college, start working, find a beautiful lady, get married, have kids, right? But this dream always was with me. And it was in 2016, so this is 8 years postgraduate from college, right? 2016 where I finally pulled the trigger. And so I had been thinking about this for all these years and sought out a real estate mentor, because as I started to think about, hey, where should I invest, right? I started thinking, well, maybe I should invest here because there's a college, or maybe I should invest here. I had no clue what I was doing. Zero clue. Yep. And it didn't really hit me until a multi-millionaire real estate investor who happens to be an extended family member. I was asking him questions one day, and he asked me questions like, why do you want to invest there? What are you interested in? And he shut me down in such a hard way. And I started thinking, and then I decided, all right, it's time to get serious about this. And then I sought out a mentor who had been doing real estate for many, many years. And then this guy kind of took me under his wing, told me to go read Gary Keller's book, The Real Estate Millionaire. And I mean, within 3 months, I bought my first property.
Wow. Yeah. So it's funny because typically people that get into real estate, you know, it's someone that tells them. It's nothing that like you learn through school. Someone either comes to you, you have a relative, you know of someone that is in real estate, and obviously you had a really good mentor. And I find it neat how you know, kind of found yourself on a, you know, sounds like a retreat out of the country and kind of establish your goals. You know, you probably had a clear head and you're probably thinking the whole time, like, how am I going to better myself? And obviously real estate's a great way to do that. Did you ever work in like a hotel chain or anything like that? Or was it just kind of like, I want to own a hotel chain?
No, I never did. In fact, when I was a kid, my dad never forked out the money to put us in a hotel. Right? And maybe that was it. Like, you know, we're going around to all the national parks and camper. But there were 6 of us, so I get it, right? Yeah. It's life's expensive, but no, and maybe that was part of it. Maybe that was part of the fantasy was, you know, I think I can get there someday. It's like a big dream of mine, and maybe we could make it happen. But no, never worked in real estate, never owned a property. Had purchased at that point 1 personal home, 2 personal homes. So I was 2 homes in of my own. And was doing okay from that side. And then I realized it's time, right? But what you're going to find funny, Evan, is like, I wasn't broke, but I was American broke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, had a great, well, I wouldn't say great salary at the time, but I had a salary. I had a little bit of money saved up. I had one of those annual bonuses that you pray and hope for the love of, you know, St. Peter. Yeah. That you actually get paid out. And I had saved up $15,000. Like that's how little money I had to invest in real estate. But I had heard some advice one time from a podcast that said something along the lines of, there are people who are in the game, and then there are people that continue to ride the bench and never actually suit up.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't want to be that dude. Like, you know, in sports, I'm pretty good at sports, but I was never like the best player on the team. And so I knew the feeling of being benched or being on the sidelines. And I was like, you know what? No, like I control my destiny in real estate, and I'm going to go and I'm going to make this happen. And I didn't even have enough money to invest within 50 miles around my house, right? I live in Denver Metro. So I had to go further south. Even further south of, you know, than the metro area, right? I mean, I had to drive a couple of hours and was able to find a property. It was actually kind of similar to one of the guys from Bigger Pockets invested kind of the opposite, a couple hours north of the Denver metro area is where he got his start, because I think very similar, you know, the pricing, and even now, man, it's crazy now. I wouldn't even consider it at this point unless you got a lot of extra cash lying around. But I was able to find my first deal. But again, I was visiting places that I wouldn't catch myself dead living in.
Exactly.
And it was scary.
Well, I'm interested because, you know, Bigger Pockets, they stress, you know, the house hack. First getting started, the house hack.
Right.
Were you aware of that when you first started?
Vaguely, right?
Okay.
When I first got married and started having kids, I wasn't necessarily like, that's my primary focus. In fact, I didn't even consider it because I decided to go back to school. I got a postgraduate degree, master's in business education and strategy and things like that. So I was busy, man. Like I didn't have any extracurricular time, and 2 young kids at the time. And it really became something that by the time I was ready to invest in real estate, I grew out of the house hacking opportunity.
Exactly. No, and the reason I asked that is just because it's unbelievable now. Everybody and their mothers are house hacking right now, and it's like it's the thing to do. And I was just curious because I had a person on last week as well on the podcast, and they were saying the same thing, that it wasn't really popular then, right, like as it is now. It's insane. Well, let's go into that first deal. So you said that the first deal was out of state.
No, the first deal was in state, but I had to drive a couple of hours to get there.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha. So it was in state. Okay. So, what kind of pricing, like what pricing was it? How'd you find it? Did you kind of build a team? Bigger pockets, they really emphasize the core four. Is that kind of what you did?
Yeah. And in fact, the core four is something I actually figured out myself, I think, before bigger pockets, because, it became essential to have certain players in your portfolio. But really, I mean, Evan, at this time, it was me. I had somebody willing to lend me money. So I had already gone through the pre-approval process, and it was my real estate agent and my mentor. Sorry, I got to throw my mentor out there, because he actually told me, hey, I started investing here. This is where you should go, given how much money or lack thereof that you have.
Yeah, exactly.
So, go check it out and see what you can find. And literally, I was online on the MLS looking all weekend for properties, and I had outlined 28 that I was ready to go figure out. And this was just based on, I think, what I could afford, right?
Yeah.
But I knew I was looking for something in particular. This is one thing that I stress to anybody. So here's my first bit of advice: is know your criteria, right? What are you looking for? Because if you don't know what you're looking for, man, you're going to get lost fast, and you're not going to know what is going to make you money and what you're going to be good at, what your bread and butter is. So I was looking for a 3-bed, 1+ bath, about 1,000 square foot home, single family. That was my criteria. And it had to be somewhere not in like next door to a gang rivalry hangout spot. Yeah. Right. That was, my criteria is pretty low, Evan, but I was trying to at least not buy a total clunker on my first bet, and actually found an incredible home. You're not even going to believe how much I bought this for. This is going to blow your mind. It was listed for $75,000. Okay. Yeah, I said that, $75,000. Yeah. Like Cleveland, Ohio prices, Memphis.
I know, that's insane
right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. I'm giving you a couple markets you can go invest in. Just don't come to mine. No, I'm kidding. But it was $75,000, and I noticed that this house had then been relisted for 72 and then relisted for 69, all within a pretty short period of time. And so I talked to my agent and was like, hey man, like I can't even pay this much, let's try and figure out what the best deal is. I said, let's offer 60 and see what we get. I was literally like, there's no way this is going to get accepted. Within 24 hours, it was accepted. So what I found out was that they were under contract. The guy had gotten a job in Montana, had to move out of state, and they needed to get rid of this house, and they were desperate. Well, I came in at the right time.
Perfect.
Literally
time.
The perfect time, and was the only offer on the table because the other deal fell through literally earlier that week. And so that's how I ended up with that deal. But you want to know what that house is worth today?
That was my next question, actually.
It's worth over $200,000.
Oh my gosh!
And I have not refinanced that property, so I'm 150+ thousand in equity in that first deal that I made. And I'm now looking at the refinance because I'm looking to take advantage of the rate situation before the Fed just said they were going to hike them in March. So exactly. I'm looking at the refinance so I can cash out and buy more properties.
Yeah, no, I think that's very important that, a lot of people will say, I don't want to offer, especially in this market, I don't want to go throw offers out there, waste my time. But I think it's critical that you do because, like you said, perfect time. Even if it doesn't make sense at the purchase price and you offer, 10, 15, 20 grand less. I mean, I'm a real estate investor in Maryland, and I've offered probably in this, market, I've had investors come to me and we offer like 50 grand less and we get a counter at like 10 grand off of what we offered it in the first place. So it's all about just putting yourself out there. If you're in a position, you got your pre-approval, you're ready to go, you have everything in line, just go ahead and start making offers. And if it doesn't work, move on to the next one. There's always going to be another deal. So I think that's
what's interesting is what you said, right? In the corporate world, I've been in the corporate world for too long, probably, but they say if you don't ask for the raise, you won't get the raise, or you don't ask for the promotion, you don't get the promotion. Well, if you don't ask for the property at the price you want it, you won't get it, right? You'll never know if you're going to get it. And I've had people, reach out to me. They reach out to me consistently now. I get at least 2-3 messages a day, probably because of the portfolio that I have, people see me and find my information and they're texting me, emailing me nonstop. But you don't get it unless you ask, right? And I think that's a really, really crucial component there.
Yeah, definitely. And let's go into, so you got this property when you first purchased it, right?
Yep.
You had a mentor, obviously, that's walking you kind of through it. Did you put this in management?
No, I managed it myself. In fact, I managed myself all the way up until I hit door number 30.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, what do you mind just touching real quick on kind of the systems you put in place? Because obviously you said that's a couple hours away from your house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of systems do you have?
Yeah. So my first system, and I know we didn't get kind of into this yet. Maybe I'll intro my partner in a minute. But having a partner became critical to running the business. And then you could say that the team is kind of important. And I know we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but I've been solicited for advice so many times over the years since I started investing in real estate, because guess what, Evan? Most people are still on the sidelines. They're talking about investing. They're pretending that they're an investor in their head, but they're not. And they're never going to be until they pull the trigger. Well, I've lost my shirt several times from tenants that suck, right? And the reality is you can never control human beings. That's what I've come to understand, is you literally can never control a human being, but you can mitigate risk in your rental real estate business. And it's a lot of it is by trial and error. Like you learn by going through the fire yourself, and then you become molded and you become a better real estate investor. Too many people never get through the fire.
Exactly. I couldn't stress that more.
The fire, and then they quit. And then people like you and me buy their properties at a distressed price, right?
Exactly.
And so I got asked so many times that I actually wrote a book, and I put all of my systems, and these are my systems, right? Yep. But yeah, I learned things from Grant Cardone. I learned things from Bigger Pockets. I learned things from, other investors, Gary Keller and people like that, who write books about rental properties, who write books about real estate investing, things like that. But I put what worked for me in here, along with 46 of my personal stories that are actually quite entertaining, the way that I put them out there, because 70% of them are not positive. They're learning experiences that I had as a landlord or a real estate investor. But really, to answer your question, it's all about the team you put around. So you've got to have somebody checking on the property. You've got to have somebody you can trust, who is your maintenance or handyman. That is the number one. If I could give any advice to anyone, it's if you don't have a good repairman, you're losing thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. What do I mean by that? I don't just mean somebody who fixes your plumbing or fixes, a broken door handle or rekeys your locks. I mean somebody who actually cares about your business, because you are a primary source of income for them. So they take your business as seriously as you would. Now, I don't think anybody ever does to that extent, right? Like nobody's ever going to love my property like I love my property, but I found a guy who loves it pretty damn close to how much I love my property. And that's something I'll talk about when we get into management, but really it's the core team that you put around yourself. And then it's also understanding your market. It's understanding where you should be buying and where you shouldn't be buying. And again, you don't always learn that before you buy the first one. And it's not a deal killer. It's not a business killer, but it certainly helps. So doing as much research as you possibly can will help you as you progress in your real estate journey. Exactly.
And I just, in the past probably 2 minutes, you just unloaded a ton of value.
Probably too much, right? Like I answered your question in like 8 different ways, but there's so much you could pack in there, right?
Exactly. No, I love it. So I want to touch on the first thing first. So just getting into real estate investing, not sitting on the sidelines. That's exactly like you're going to learn the most from that first deal than anything. And when you touched on, everything about your, you've lost your shirt on a couple tenants, like so have I, so has everyone else. But like you said, it's a learning experience. You learn exactly what not to do. You learn how to vet them better probably on the next one. And, you learn how to put systems in place so that doesn't happen again. And people don't understand that if you buy a property in a good neighborhood and it's not a tear down, you're most likely going to be able to get someone in there. So yes, you're going to be going through some headaches, but even if it's a single family and, you have it, no, it's unoccupied for a couple months, you're going to get someone in there. So at the end of the day, it's not like you're going to lose all your money, all the shirt or all the money in your bank account off of it. It's a learning experience and you're paying for that. And the first one's not going to make you a millionaire, but maybe the second, third, fourth, fifth, 30th one will. Yeah. So I think that's huge. Also, you just plugged your book. I don't want to skip over that. So why don't you just tell us real quick what the title of that is and what's it about?
Yeah, so it's actually called How to Win. I'm going to try and get it without too much glare. How to Win in Rental Real Estate After. There we go. After the deal.
There you go.
And then this cool graphic was not drawn by me. However, I did have somebody who used to work for me in the corporate world. I had like a picture in mind and she beautifully put it on paper and I absolutely love it. But
it looks great.
It's 15 keys to mastery and ultimate success in your rental real estate business. And I mean, I have everything in here you can possibly imagine, but here's the selling point to the book. Every book that I read before getting into rental real estate was about buying a property or becoming rich. Rich dad, poor dad. Okay. Yep. Even Gary Keller's real estate book is about getting in, and you can make so much money in real estate. And then there's a one really small piece on how to manage, a really small piece on how to be a landlord. Nobody had a book that spelled out the entire landlord process. And so I decided, I'm gonna write one. And even if Bigger Pockets comes out with one or whatever, I can write a better one. So that's what I did, right? Is I literally put it all in that book, step by step, from choosing your team to how do you write a lease agreement? What should be in the lease agreement? How do you set up your entities for your real estate business? What about a partnership? Should you go into partnership with somebody? And if so, how do you find a partner? I put in there safety. Man, I got my concealed carry permit because I'm a landlord, okay? And there are real stories about landlords going to collect rent and getting their heads cut off with samurai swords. Exactly. Like nobody talks about this. Everybody wants to talk about the butterflies, but nobody talks about the fact that my first tenant with Austin, who's my business partner, after a year and a half was picked up by the FBI. Okay. They broke in. And of course the government, they didn't fix my window, right? They broke a $250 window and never fixed it. But you don't learn about that stuff by talking about the rainbows and unicorns. I mean, I go into the stuff that actually happens. The system's about how you can be successful. How a 12-month lease is a winning lease because we did 24 for a while thinking, let's lock in the price. But then the market changes and you lose out on all your money, or you get locked into a horrible tenant who hasn't done enough to get evicted, but you're by the law required to keep them because you signed the 24-month lease. So just little details like this that are critically important. And then talking about property management, talking about how to hire somebody, how to find them, lending, how to build your net worth with real estate, how to do we don't talk about house hacking because you can house hack if you want to, but that's not the route that I took. And I think there's so many different routes to real estate, but how to leverage your property to then buy more property, to then buy more property. And that's how we went from one where I bought myself, and then I looped Austin and I kind of told him, hey man, you're not going to believe this deal I just got. Like there's 10 more of these out there. You want to come try? 6 weeks later, we bought number 2. So number 1 for him and I, but number 2 for me. And we didn't stop, man. We just kept going, and now we're at 60.
That's amazing. And you know what? I hear a lot of people say, you win on the buy, which I think is true, but no one ever talks about after you get the property. If you don't maintain it, if you don't put the systems in place, everything that your book's describing, then you're going to lose. You're not going to win. So no, I think that's interesting. The link to your book, I'll make sure to put it in the show notes so that people
you can get it on Amazon. And I'm the only author by my name, Casey Denby. So you should be able to find it.
Perfect. I will put that in there. So people, I would highly suggest looking into that. I know I'm going to. So why don't we go into, let's transition into partnerships. We brought them up. So Austin's your partner. Kind of talk about that, the introduction, and how'd you get started with him?
Yeah. So I was telling you, I lived in a third world country. We actually both lived there and met there. So
wow.
Yeah, he's from Orange County area. I grew up in the Seattle area. And I live in Colorado now. He's still out in California. I give him a crap for that all the time. I don't know how you survive out there. But guess how much property he owns in California?
Oh boy, zero.
Zero, right?
Yep.
He owns all of his properties with this guy right here. So that's sorry if anybody's listening from California. Beautiful state. It's just crazy. It's gone off the rails. And it's also very unlandlord friendly. In fact, the two states that we invest in, and I'll talk about this later, we invest in Colorado and Arkansas, the two friendliest states for real estate investing. Actually, Arkansas is number 1. Colorado's like number 5. They're ranked, right?
Really?
It is, yeah. And so it's important because, you want laws that are favorable to landlords. Anyways, back to Austin. So him and I met in the country of Ecuador. Yep. And we were serving church missions, right? We didn't know each other from anybody before this. We kind of got paired up randomly, and him and I became good friends, and we actually dreamed together while walking the dirty streets of Ecuador. Loved it. Every second of it. Hardest times of our lives, but the best memories. And him and I just became friends, and we dreamt together about real estate and going into business together. And so when this opportunity came up and we kept in touch, I mean, our wives, are friends and know each other. And now our kids are friends and know each other. But for 6 years now, we've been business partners. And when I called him up after I bought that first deal, and I told him, and I was under contract, and I said, I'm not calling Austin until I know this is going to work, in the sense that like the numbers work, the financials work, and I'm not going to, because like I care about him. I don't want to ask anybody to put money in with me if I don't know I'm going to be successful. And although nothing's guaranteed, when you work your tail off and you do the research and you actually learn from your mistakes and from other people's mistakes, you can be successful in almost anything. And so he literally was like, okay, he had saved up some money. We pooled our money together and boom, we bought that property. Then we bought 2 more that year together. And it just has kind of gone up since then. So Austin and I have a 50-50 partnership. And I told you I have properties of my own, right? So those I manage by myself. But Austin and I, literally, we are like a perfect dude pair. And he's from California, so that's kind of how the rental property dudes came to be. Is I was like, that's what we are. Like, we call each other dudes all the time. We're just dudes.
Love it.
So I'm like the deal seeker or the hunter, right? Okay. I have found, I think every single deal we've purchased is from me or from connections that I've had and driven, right? And he is great on the other side of, he's great with people. He's great with the tenants. He's great. Everybody loves Austin. Now, the people like me, they love Austin, right? Because I'm a little bit more hard-nosed. I'm a little bit more business oriented. Like, we're going to make money on this, or I'm not paying you that much, or you're ripping me off, or I'm going to evict you if you don't pay. Right now, I'm not mean. Like, I'm actually a really nice guy, but I learned that I can't be Casey as a landlord. I have to be a smart and savvy business owner, because that's what it is. This is my business, Evan. Yep. And nobody's running this business except for me. And I'm looking at the financials, and I'm making sure I'm making money, and I'm making sure I'm clearing enough for when the $25,000, which we've had, foundation repair, because our house is about to fall down, comes into play, I can pay for it.
Exactly.
Right. And so,
exactly.
I'm fair as a landlord, but I also take advantage of the market. I mean, if the market's going up in rent like it has, I mean, my rents have gone up 25-30% over the last 2 years. It's insane, right?
Yep.
But if you as a landlord are going to live in the past and not take advantage of that. So anyways, I manage that side. Austin's great on the other side. He works a lot with the lenders. He works a lot with our property manager, who loves to talk on the phone for a very extended period of time. But we love the guy, man. It's actually a husband-wife couple. They work together, and they're the best. But we actually make a great pair, and he's really good at being conservative with spending. I'm the opposite. I'm like, let's make this the best house ever, right? And he's like, no, we don't have to do that. And so he calms me down. And I remember the first property we bought together, man, we were out there like buying landscape rocks for the front and planting things in there. And I'm talking, we probably spent $250. I'm not talking, this isn't a huge investment, but at the time it was, because we didn't have a lot of extra cash, right? But I'm like, people are going to love our property so much more, right? This is so awesome. And he's kind of like, I don't think they're going to care. And then I learned they don't care. Like literally they don't care. We had 2 properties with pristine grass and sprinkler system. Okay. Both lawns completely dead within a matter of weeks or months of them moving in. And it's like, you know what? They just don't care like we're going to care. And he was right. So him and I balance each other out that way. And really we make a great, business partnership. And I talk about that in the book. I talk about how we met. I talk about kind of how we balance each other out and a little bit of what I've shared with you today.
Yeah, obviously when you go to business with partnerships, you're going to disagree on some things, but I mean, as long as you find common ground, as long as you guys are both after the same thing, which is to do the right thing to get the properties, to standard. And I kind of like how you kind of offset each other. So like, just like you were saying, and it's funny because my wife and it was hard to get her on shit for real estate investing, but it's literally the same thing now. Like she's into it. I actually
feel the same with my wife, Evan. It's so funny because we got in and we started doing this, and then she's just like, you know what? I trust you, right? Like, I know nothing about this, but I trust you. And when you look at our net worth from when I started to where we're at today, I'm no genius.
The track record helps.
I'm no genius, but she trusted me and we made it work. We figured it out, right?
Exactly. And you don't have to be a genius to be a real estate investor. You just got to take action. Just got to take action and do it. And I love it. Okay, well, great. Well, when you purchase these properties, right? Do you use hard money? Do you use, conventional financing, commercial? Okay.
Never do you bring hard money. We've purchased properties 3 ways. Conventional, like straight up conventional before we owned the 10 properties, right? We were conventional mortgages. We did 30-year notes. Just like they were our second home or whatever, right?
Yep.
And we took advantage of that because you can lock it in for 30 years. You get a killer rate. It's usually lower than a commercial note, et cetera. Then we capped that out. So then we started to transition into commercial notes where we could get commercial notes. And what's great about commercial notes is that you don't have to do the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. It was amazing. It was the easiest loan I've ever gotten in my life. I'm like, you don't have to know every little bit of my personal finances to get a loan. No. Are you running a successful rental business? Show me your P&L.
Exactly.
Right. Yep. And proof that you own these properties and tax returns, and boom. It's like, you obviously have to keep up good credit and you have to be qualified, but it's a totally different process. And the terms aren't as favorable with commercial notes. However, shop around, find a good lender, find somebody who's looking to do a commercial note or portfolio loan is what they call it, right? When it's in-house. I don't ever go to the big banks for these guys. You have to go to the smaller local banks in the towns that you're investing in. You have to build those relationships. I talk about that in the book as well. I would have never purchased half of the properties we have without a small town lender. Zero. I'm telling you, we wouldn't have more than 15 properties today without the small kind of local lenders. And then the third, which we just started delving into in 2021, can't believe we're in 22 already.
It's insane.
It is the construction loan. So it's very similar to a commercial note because you're buying it on a commercial investment or property, but you get money to then fix up your property before you even get in there day one. They're giving you hundreds of thousands of dollars if that's what you have. And that's what we did our big deal with we did a 23 unit deal, 2 buildings, 15 units for one and 8 for another. And you had, it needed a lot of work, right? And so our proposal to the bank was, hey, this is what it's renting at now. Let us go do the work with all these. We need X amount of hundreds of thousands to do all the repairs over 15-month period. Boom. They're used to doing this. It's not like we propose the terms and they're like, sure, these guys seem great. No, it was something that they do, but we, were able to meet them halfway through another relationship that we had already had. Wouldn't have had that without that relationship. And that's why, again, cultivating relationships in this business is really, really important. Become friends with your banker, man. Become friends with your banker. Go golfing with your banker. If you don't golf, take them to eat. Everybody eats, okay?
Exactly.
super beneficial for our business.
Exactly. With that renovation loan, just one question. Did they have stipulations on that as far as like you need a license, or, well, obviously a licensed contractor, but is there any like standards that they have when they give you that, or is it kind of like they give it to you all in one sum and then you go ahead and kind of
so they don't give it to you up front. They do a draw situation, so this mitigates the risk on their end, right? So we submit estimates for repairs or improvements, enhancements for the each unit one by one, and then they approve the draw, and then they add the funds to our account, and then we can pay our contractor. But I'm talking, I mean, it is within 24 hours they're approving our draw, and we can make the payout.
That's insane, and I stress it way too much. I probably say it too much, but your network is your net worth.
Boom!
I just love that. You got to get out there and meet people.
That's right.
That's
you really do. And I'm telling you, connections of connections of connections is how we expanded and became a multi-state business.
Yeah. Well, perfect. Well, all right. Well, let's go from there. So you guys bought your first one, right? Obviously, it worked out. You guys felt comfortable with it, and you started to grow. What kind of happened next?
Yeah. So. We got up to 30. I was actually almost finished writing this book at 30. And we had a network out of state, actually a few, because I actually worked for a big real estate conglomerate. I was a senior leader there, and so built lots of relationships. And somebody actually, because you talk and people find out you're a real estate investor. And I got introduced to an agent who only sought out off-market properties. So if you want,
that's a good connection.
If you want to be a real estate agent who has a niche that needs filled, it's off-market properties. He was literally probably one of like 3 in the entire state of Arkansas that was doing this. And I happened to be introduced to him. His team would literally march down the streets, knock doors, and find deals. I'm not kidding you, right? My first property deal there, and it was very similar. Like I had this connection, just like in Colorado. I bought the first property, then I went to Austin and said, dude, we got this, let's go. Same thing in Arkansas. I found a deal. It was 3 single family homes. I went under contract. Like this is recently, okay? So you're gonna be like, how did you find this? $210,000 for 3 single family homes that all fit my 3-2 or 3-1 plus. They all had 2 bathrooms. And 1,000 square feet, right? Now, one of them was pretty much rent ready. The other 2 needed some work. This was an investor that was older, found out he was actually terminal with cancer, right?
Wow.
Now, it's a sad situation, and I didn't take advantage of the guy. He actually agreed to the price and was like, yeah, like, let's move. Went under contract. The bank actually came back and was like, no, we can't even appraise them for this much for whatever reason. In my opinion, and in the real estate agent's opinion, they're like, this is the worst appraiser of the world.
Yeah.
But I could only get them for 180. And I thought the deal was going to fall apart, and it didn't. I got them for $180,000, 3 houses, okay? Now, I did a construction loan on this. So I put in, I think, total $58,000 between the 3 properties to get them to a rent ready. I mean, I'm talking like replacing all the linoleum floors, painting, even actually creating a room. Like we did a lot of work. In these properties. One was pretty much ready to go. Like I said, it only needed $2,000 worth of work. The other big expense was on the other 2. But man, like those are probably worth $350,000 plus today with the work we put into it, plus the market, plus we bought them under value, the whole deal. And it ended up working out. And then boom, I went to Austin. I was like, dude, you're not again, dude, right? You're not going to believe what I just bought, right? And then sure enough, we went in and we bought our biggest deal ever, $1.3 something million in 23 units at once. I mean, we had never considered this before. And boom, all at once, we went from 30 units. I added 3 to then another 23. And then I closed on 4 more myself not too long after that. Wow. So 21 was a great year, right? I mean, we literally doubled our portfolio in that year. And I released the book, and it's not been the smoothest ride when you buy 23 units at the same time, and that most of them are poorly managed. And I don't know if you're going to get to the niche question, so I'll save that answer for later. But we have something we're really good at, right? And it's buying poorly managed properties and turning them or rejuvenating them into cash cow machines. And that's just, it's the guy that got in, didn't know what he was doing, didn't bother to research, didn't bother to build the team, didn't bother to find the good repairman, and just got eaten alive in the real estate business, hated collecting rent, didn't have any systems, didn't have a online platform to collect rent or manage their accounting. People who just don't know what they're doing. They're amateurs. And
exactly.
I was an amateur,
exactly.
But dude, I went in and I became a pro, right? Like you learn and you become a pro. And I was in the learning field. 70% of what we learn is by doing it. So if you don't get in and do it, get your shirt wet, man, get sweaty, you're never going to make it.
Yeah, exactly. And you, it sounds like you guys do a lot of value add, and that's kind of how you build your, your equity and everything, and build your net worth. So a lot of people don't understand that with mismanaged properties, obviously there's going to be some renovations, but how do you not go overboard? So a lot of people go in there and like, oh, we got to replace this, and we got to do everything. Like, what kind of is your goal as far as when you go in there and make it rent ready?
That's a solid question. Probably your best question yet, Evan. I'm going to grade you on the podcast. No, because it's a hard one to answer. But I know how to answer it for what we've done. And I think anybody can replicate this. And the harsh reality is it's not your house. If you don't understand that it's not your house and it's not what you're going to be living in, you're going to lose your shirt every single time because you're going to want the nicest of this and the nicest of that. Now, I'm one of those guys that like, I'm going to try and save money wherever I can. And Austin's even more so than me. So I have a Lowe's like 5% business card.
Yep.
Because Home Depot doesn't do it anymore. So I said, forget that. I'm going to Lowe's. I'm going to get the 5%, right? And
exactly. Man, I think a lot of people did that.
Advantage of that over the years. And when it's 10% day, it's even better. And then I have a guy local who can source materials for me at a local price for cheaper than I would ever be able to find it. And so the important part is understand it's not your house, okay? And then go in and say, what does this need to be, if you would imagine like almost like Section 8 housing, but not quite as strict because they're kind of crazy on their regulations. What does this need to be up to code or ready to rent? Rent ready is, do the windows close and lock? Do the doors close and lock? Is there paint on the wall? Is there drywall? There's nothing exposed. You know what I mean? Do the lights work? Does the gas work? I mean, think about that, and then think about how can I enhance it but not go overboard? And I think that's the trickiest part for people. So we use LTV, like the linoleum, but not the cheap crap, because you're going to replace that after 5 years too. We never use carpet. Every time we buy a property, we replace it. If there's carpet in there, if it's rented and people are happy, that's fine. We'll wait until they're gone and then we'll replace it because carpet attracts odor and it keeps the odor. And I don't care how many times you clean it, it just smells like wet cat or wet dog or your feet forever, right? So as a landlord, the best way to avoid that is by not having carpet. And so that's one thing that we do, but we also paint with nice colors, right? Gray and white trim. And then we have cheap appliances, but not the cheapest, So we have nice light fixtures that are newer, but not the most expensive ones. It's just about being thrifty with your business and finding things that work, but not going over the top. You don't have to.
Exactly. And I actually do the same thing with don't use the carpet. It took one bed bug incident to really ruin that for us. So
for us it was cat piss.
Cat piss, yeah, exactly. Oh my god, that's awesome. Well, do you allow dogs and cats in pets?
We do, absolutely. Okay. In fact, I highly recommend it if you want to make the most money out of your property. Allow pets. I actually put the statistics in my book, Evan. We make so much more money by having pets than not. Here's why. Can I give you my process? Is that cool?
Please do.
Non-refundable pet deposit. This is a common thing for landlords. Most people don't know this is outside of the security deposit. We charge a mandatory upfront non-refundable. That's the key. You don't get it back. Even if your pet is the perfect pet in the world or the princess pet, doesn't matter. So it's non-refundable. And at first I charge like $250. We're up to $400 on that. And nobody balks. Now it's not per pet. Our thing is it's however many pets you have. Now we take that into consideration when we rent to people. It's not like we're going to give people a property if they have a farm, right?
Exactly.
But 2 dogs or a dog and 2 cats or whatever, like we'll take it. I mean, you get the carpet out, almost all problems are solved with pets. Almost. We've had pets eat doors before. I know it's weird. Pit bulls, just be careful. Yeah. We didn't know they were pit bulls. I mean, that's the thing you learn.
Exactly.
So minimize it, but then also charge a monthly pet fee per pet. And that monthly pet fee is going to add up, plus your non-refundable deposit, plus your security deposit. If you lose because of pets, you stink as a landlord at that point, right? Because you're bringing in, by the end of that 12-month lease, another $500-$600 just on fees on top of the non-refundable $400. So you've got almost $1,000. I mean, not very many pets are going to cause more than $1,000 in damage, right? And if they do, they do. But statistics show that, I can't remember the number by heart right now, but it's in the book. It's like 68% of renters have pets. Wow. So if you don't accept pets, you literally shrink your renter pool to 32%. That's bad business. And then guess what? That 32% is lying to you, because most of them will have pets or come with pets at some point anyways. It's just, especially, I mean, dude, if you followed the pandemic at all, pet ownership went through the roof. Okay. Yep. So if pet ownership's going through the roof, it's not just for people who own homes, it's for your tenants. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So did having babies.
Yeah, you dang right. Yeah. Luckily, we're already capped out with having babies. We're at 4 now, and we're good. Yeah.
Oh, geez, we're just starting. Oh, God.
Congrats. Evan's expecting with his wife. That's awesome news, man.
Yeah. No, but I'm actually really happy that you said that, just because I've never heard someone that, that says, let pets be in your rentals.
We love pets. Like, I'm a love pet guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no. I love it. And what's so funny is I see it with my own rentals as well. And just my marketplace, every single listing says no pets, every single one. So if you, like you just said, if you put it out there and you say we can't have pets, you're probably gonna have a huge pool come in and say, I want to rent from you. What's the what typically monthly charge do you put for them?
We usually do between $25 and $30 per pet. Now, we will charge $50 for a solo cat, right? If they have one cat. But if they have 2 cats, and here's how I play it, right? Is, hey, we usually charge $50 per cat, but because you have 2 and whatnot, we'll do $75. I think they're getting a discount.
Exactly.
I have not had one person say no to, not one person say no to this. I have had somebody who's paid me $125 a month in pet fees because they wanted their 4 dogs, and they will pay anything, and they barely make, you know what I mean? Like, these are people that shouldn't have 4 dogs and shouldn't pay $120. But dude, people spend more money on their pets than they do on their humans.
Exactly. And they probably can't find a place that's in better shape that allows you to have pets.
That's right. And that's the key. That's why you do that linoleum flooring, not the cheap sticky stuff, you guys. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the stuff that looks like wood, and it's very
life-proof.
Yep. Very durable, scratch proof, waterproof, stain proof. I mean, it's the opposite of carpet maintenance for a landlord. I think you're going to pay more up front. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, you're going to pay more up front, but it's not even 150% more than carpet. So, sorry, 150% of the price. So what I mean is, carpet is here, and then it's only 50% more than carpet to get the LTV. So just get it.
And it lasts longer.
Oh, it lasts like 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, literally, unless you take like a sledgehammer or, like you drop, I was going to say big screen, but like, TVs weigh like 30 pounds now.
Exactly. Yeah.
So something else, like your tool chest on it, it's going to be good. And then if they do, then it comes out of their deposit. You can fix parts, like carpet. You have to rip up the whole thing, you guys. Yeah. You don't have to do that you can piece and fix things around. Now it's kind of a pain, but you can make it happen.
Yeah. Last thing I'll ask about the pets. So do you have your property manager walk through like every so often months just to check in with them?
Yeah, this was one of the learnings we actually had, and I'm not sure if I put that in the book or not, but one of the things we didn't do is as vigilantly, if that's the diligently, I don't know, let's come up with the right word there, as we should have, was the quarterly inspections, right?
Yeah.
Because we have busy lives and it's hard to get out to every property. And yes, we would do drive-bys and yes, we would stop by, but we didn't do it like religiously. And so now we have property managers who do this. And I had a guy, my property manager, literally, we had somebody on Section 8. They had their boyfriend living with them. They didn't tell Section 8 their boyfriend was living with them. That's how she was approved for Section 8. So she was lying to the government, lying to us, and had a second pet when they told us they only had one pet. Our property manager found all of this out. This lady just gets terminated by Section 8. We get her kicked out, and actually she wasn't the greatest tenant anyways. So we were able to get, we flipped the unit, and we're about to rent it for $150 more than it was renting before. So
that's insane.
Good property managers, Evan, literally can change your life. And this is why, like, we went 5 years and 30 properties, 30 doors without having somebody manage the properties because, number one, I couldn't find anybody that I trusted. And I kept hearing the worst of nightmares of property managers because they're in it for your money, you guys. They're not in it because they love your people or they love your property. We found somebody who's passionate about it, who's not a company. They're a husband and wife, older couple in their late 50s that have been doing this for years and they love it, right? This is their sole source of income. They take it more seriously. I'm not kidding you. I never thought I would find this. They take it more seriously than I do. That's hard to find. And I'm probably putting the pedestal up there really high. But that's in our Colorado market. Our Arkansas market, we're using a bigger conglomerate company and it's not going as well, right? And so, again, it's, who do you trust? Who can you find? But again, it's through a connection that I have. So there is some accountability there. There's some trust. But it's just not the same caliber. It's not the same caliber of quality.
Yeah. And it's obviously it's going to take a little bit of time to, tell them your standards and teach them the way of how you like to operate. So that's always a learning curve.
Can I tell your listeners how I found him?
Please do.
Okay. So again, networks, connections, right? We actually, we didn't know anybody in town who was a repairman. So we would ask our lender, we would ask our agent, anybody. We would get some recommendations. Nobody ended up being amazing. I actually put ads out on Craigslist and said, meet me at this property to see if I'll hire you as my property or as my repairman, right? And like
that's not sketchy.
Yeah, I know it's totally sketchy, which is why I started carrying a gun. But the nice thing is like people would show up for this because it's like a job interview and they're trying, they come and interesting folks will show up. But through that, we found our first few repairmen and we fired the first one, had the second one for several years. He was good. And then we found out he was charging us too much and kept buying Red Bulls with our money all the time, like on every job. And I mean, it wasn't just the Red Bull, but it was like the 5 snacks with it that he would just not say anything about. It was just really weird. And then, we found this guy through another one of our repairmen doing a service call that this guy, they're like, oh, we know this guy, he can do this, blah, blah, blah. So we're like, okay. We were a little skeptical. But then one of our tenants actually knew this guy personally, was actually in a rock band with him. I know story's getting weird. This is totally true. This is 100% true. Okay. And she's like, you have to use this guy. And we're like, you sure about this? This seems really sketchy. So we hired him for one job. That's how we did everything. We're like, all right, we'll hire you for one job.
Yep.
And he gave us a killer rate. He was the most punctual, the most thorough. Like I said, he likes to talk on the phone a lot, but he's the most thorough. And then he told us after we hired him for more jobs. This is repair work, not property management. So he was doing repair work for us. And then he kind of slipped in there, hey, I'm a property manager, like full time. I have X amount of doors under, this is what I do for a living. If you ever want to, right? Because he would actually point out, hey, did you know what this property, and that's the thing is he earned the job. Did you know what this property that they have, a broken whatever, or they're not taking care of this, or there's a couch on the patio or whatever. Like he would go around with each job and tell me, if I was managing this, I mean, this guy was incredible. Right. And I'm like, no way, it's too good to be true. Anyways, and his rate was killer. And we finally gave him our most painful building at the time and said, please manage us. This will be your trial. And we did it. That's awesome. Changed everything. And now literally I just handed him at the end of the year. So this started in 2021. We started to give out management responsibilities. By the end of 2021, he had all 30 of our doors in Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just a testament to, finding the right one, finding the guy who's actually going to care about your properties.
That's right.
And I think it's huge. I love my property manager. We love him, kind of like you do. He cares about properties. He's helped us so much. And I wish he did in-house renovations, repairs, like yours is, and I think that's huge because it's all in house there. You don't have to go, third party,
he does
whatever.
Outsource it to a few. Like he has a plumbing guy that will do hard plumbing work. He can fix a faucet, he can fix under a sink or whatever. Yeah. But when it comes to replacing sewer lines and things like that, he hires it out to a full-time professional. But this is another guy who's not with a conglomerate business, who's charging 1/3 the rate of cut rate, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
and it's unbelievable. These guys do the best work, and I'm telling you, the bigger the brand, the more it costs.
Exactly, and that's all through trial and error, just interviewing and hiring people out with little projects first.
That's right.
Let's move on. Let's go into. Do you have a deal maybe that we can kind of break down?
Yeah, let me talk about that first building that I actually gave to our property manager. It was our first apartment building. An apartment building is anything with 5 units or more. So we didn't know that when, we're going through, we just learn things along the way. Right. And so,
exactly.
It was an eightplex, and we found it through, a tenant. And just crazy, right? The tenant knew somebody, and this guy was like, "Hey, I actually own this building, and, my aunt or something is living in here." It was a weird thing, but anyway,
gotcha.
We ended up buying this eightplex off market. So he was considering listing it, but he needed the cash, and we bought it off market for $416,000. Okay. That property right now is worth $650 probably. But we went through and we upped the management on this, just like that's our specialty, right? Like we're going to go in. This guy was an okay manager. He's actually one of the better ones. But we went in and he was charging $425 for rent in a unit that at the time should have been getting $600 to $650. Jeez. So we didn't just go in and raise rent, right? Like that's a quick way to piss people off and have somebody burn your building down or whatever, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But we did it the way where, hey, your lease is expired, or a voluntary move out. And every time they did that, we would go in and we would rehab that unit, and then we would sell it or rent it at market rent. So we would take it from the $450. I think the highest rent at the time was like $575. So we knew we could get $575 from anybody, but we were seeing things around there that were like $625, $7 for the same specs. And I'm like, well, you just got to know your market. You got to go out as if you're a renter and go on Zillow or Truly or HotPads or whatever and pretend like you're gonna rent a property, and you'll know what you should rent it for. And so we just started testing it out, and boom, one unit replaced, next unit replaced, next unit replaced, right? Little by little. And yeah, we had to put, I think in one unit, we had to put $5,000 in rehab, but it was the worst unit in the building. The people before trashed it. I mean, it was just one of those things where when you have to do it, you have to do it. But in other units, it was $1,000 or $800, a little bit of paint, a little bit of refresh, a little bit of cleaning. And again, you don't have to make it perfect. But man, we took rents from $3,200 when we moved in. I just did the payoff for property management, and I know the rents are $5,575 for the building. So it's a $2,000 plus $2,500 basically dollar increase monthly in rent for the exact same property. Now rents have gone up a little bit since then, so that helped us. In fact, most units are like the highest we're renting is $750, and we've got half the building at $750 now. I mean, it's awesome, right? Yeah. And there are a few that we're turning over that are getting at the end of their lease that are at $675, and we're going to up that too. But the point is, like, it's about patience. It's about the long game. It's about persistence and being smart and treating your tenants right and whatnot. And, that's been a great success story for us. And that's another building that we actually refinanced and took out like $100,000 and bought a bunch of other doors with it because of the work that we did and the care that we took for the property.
Yeah, that sounds like a home run right there. Why don't you touch on real quick the importance of, first off, finding, an off-market deal, but the fact that how you build equity through it, how maybe a apartment building, 5 unit and higher, how that's valued, and how you can increase that way more than a 4 unit or below. And and then talk about your process as far as cash out refi. What was, is it 75%? And then you allocated that, put that in another deal, and you raised your cash flow to a whole nother level just because you were able to buy another property.
That's right, and that's kind of how it's gone. In fact, we are at the point where we're actually our revenue is over $600,000 for our portfolio right now. And it would have never happened if we didn't leverage our finances and leverage our debt and manage our portfolio the right way. But high level, we don't have time. We have full-time jobs. We're not out knocking doors. We're not making calls. We're not sending texts or notepads or whatever, bothering people. We're not full-time investors. We've done a pretty dang good job being part-time investors coming to this point. And there will be an eventual, break off where, we've reached a point where this could be a full-time deal and could fund, our lives. But finding the off-market deals has been through networks and connections. We've had real estate agents who have found these deals through their connections. Again, it's about the people you guys. It's never about you. It's about who you know and how you leverage that network and telling them what you want. We literally told him, this is what we want, and we won't buy from you if you don't. And then we swapped out realtor because we had a realtor that was closer to us, couldn't find the deals for us. I was finding all the deals, and then they were getting like info from the agent and stuff. I'm like, I'm doing all the work. I'm gonna go, to find somebody local, and I did through. We actually bought their property. He was the representing agent, and he came and was like, dude, he's a younger guy, like just getting into real estate. He was like, dude, let me work with you. Let me send you some deals. And we said, okay, why not? Let's try it. And so he found us that Aplex through a connection that he had. I mean, it's just all these things, right? And then now, I used to work, like I said, for a big real estate conglomerate and made friends with agents and brokers around the country. And you just talk to people, tell them what you're doing. You'll guess what? You should come by here. You should do this, whatever. I would have never known to buy in Little Rock area, right?
Yeah.
And again, Little Rock area is big, but again, I knew nothing about it. All I knew was the Clintons were from there, and I'm not a fan of them. So, there's interesting that like now I own 30 doors in Little Rock, Arkansas, or the surrounding areas. It never would have happened without connections, without relationships, without asking, without talking to people and letting them know what you're doing, what you're passionate about. And so we found this agency that literally that's their specialties. They go out and they find off market deals. Turns out there's a lot of older people or people don't know what the heck they're doing with their properties who don't want them, right? Yeah. And need to get out. And they're like, oh, this is the easiest way to do it. It's a lot. It's kind of like finding the Zillow offers people. Maybe that's too early to say because that's no longer business for them. But sad deal. But
it is.
The reality is like we are buying it for a better deal than they are, like, and we're getting a great deal because we're not this big company. And anyways, the numbers work, but it's finding people in that spectrum that are willing to do the work for you. And we actually just got connected again with another agent in Arkansas who sent us 4 deals today and is like, what do you want? This is great. Tell me exactly. I mean, I could be like, listen, I want to put 10 grand in it, or I want it cash flow ready. I want it rent ready tomorrow. And they can find that for us. And we've been able to do that and have been rather successful with that. Now, again, I'm not bragging about me, guys. It's about the people you know. Literally about the people you know. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else I need to expand on there?
No, that I think that was said perfectly. I think that honestly, I could probably talk to you for another 2 hours.
Probably, but, I know. I can ramble on this because I'm passionate about it. Like I love it.
No, I love it. Exactly. And honestly, just out of myself, I've learned a ton since we started this. So I want to thank you so much for being on here.
You got it.
We're gonna work on I know we just scratched the surface, but maybe we can have you on when you and Austin get another 60 doors or whatnot. I think that would be awesome.
Maybe not wait till we have 60 more, Evan. Come on. Yeah.
Well, that'd be like 3 months, right?
Yeah, our goal for the year is to add 15. And
okay.
And I know that's less than we added last year, but we actually want to buy 15 cash cows this year. So like we're more focused on the single family packages or the 4plexes or lower because they're easier to manage. And it's a lot easier to manage 4 tenants in a building than it is to manage 20.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when one of them's like a really bad tenant who has bullet holes through their door.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
It's a thing,
I would
right?
say that's pretty bad.
So we're trying to hedge our risks a little bit and be more on the cash flow positive side, but really, really high quality doors. But we're at the point now, I mean, we have 60, right? It's not like we need to add another 200 this year. We're going to add door by door, just like we have, and leverage. And we're actually working on improving our interest rates on a couple properties before the Fed is going to kick them up in March.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think, you just answered one of my outro questions here, what your goals are. Why don't you just touch real quick? What is the purpose of all this? Why do you invest in real estate? Why are you creating this cash flow?
Family.
Yep.
And each other, Austin and I mean, we became best friends before we became partners. And I don't always suggest partnering with your best friend or partner, especially not with family.
Family, yeah.
I've actually stayed away from that. But Austin and I are so perfectly matched as like a friendship and partnership that it just made sense, right? So you have to feel that out for yourself. I can't even put the criteria on that, Evan. It just is. And then finally, I mean, we want to live up to our own potential. And in America, most people are middle income, living off their salary paycheck by paycheck. Yeah. We want a life that we can live for our kids. We can teach them how to run a business, how to get in dirty, what life's really like for most people. And also, we can have a property or a vacation, or we don't have to work past 45 or whatever it is. I mean, we're both in our 30s still. And we have this great portfolio, and you'll read in my book. I mean, my net worth went from like 100,000 to multiple millions of dollars. So real estate has been great for me. Now, again, it comes with a lot of headaches. And if you're not ready to do it, that's why I'm buying your property, right? Because people want to get in and get out. But then you set the systems, and that's why we do it.
Yeah. And I don't know why this came to my head, but since you guys are the rental property dudes, I was thinking when you were talking about Austin, it's not a bromance, it's a dude mance.
It's a dude man. That is the best thing I've ever heard. Okay, that's going on our Instagram tonight. Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No. But no, that's 100%. I think, I'm the same as you, like bringing in family, bringing in friends. We've done that, been there, done that. I just think it's, to keep the relationship sane, stay kind of away from that. But some people make it work. So, but yeah. And then, if someone on here can kind of, bring value to you, what would be valuable for you in Austin right now?
Wow. I mean, for us, we're always looking to learn, and we're always looking to grow. So if you're bringing off market deals, or you're bringing a great partnership in some way, or some sort of learning, I mean, Evan reached out to us, right? About this podcast, and I think we've been connected for a little bit now on Instagram, and we like to stay active there and help people. I have people hitting me up every week, asking about this and asking about that, and I offer free help, right? But I also wrote a book because I'm tired of giving out free help. Like
exactly,
yeah. Like, I think my knowledge is worth something at this point.
Yeah, 100%.
But to your point, like it's about the network, and I would never have met you had I not put myself out there on social media. Again, that was my idea. I'm like, let's get a social media page. Let's figure out what we're going to call each other. And we had our wives help us with the creative. And I ended up, Austin's wife actually clued me into Canva. And so now I have a Canva membership, and I use Canva and I figure out how to use it. And like, I never thought I would do that. And my wife's actually a social media superstar. Like she runs a network marketing business purely on social media, and she's an incredible storyteller. So I learned how to like do things from her, and she helps me with hashtags and all these things. But again, whatever value you can bring, man, like we welcome it. And the number one thing we want though, is we want authenticity. Like, I don't like working with people who just want my money.
Exactly.
Love authenticity. I'll give you my money all day if you are genuine, authentic, and you care about me and my family and my business.
Perfect. Well, if they had that value to give you, or they just want to reach out to you, where can they find you guys?
On Instagram, our handle is The Rental Property Dudes. We're the only ones out there, and there's a underscore between each word. But The Rental Property Dudes, search us up, you'll find us.
Perfect. And that's where the Dude Mance came from. Just letting you know.
Oh,
it wasn't
I
random.
love it. Now I'm going to have to come up with a logo for the Dude Mance, Evan.
That's going to be the best part. That's going to be the best part.
Oh, that's so good.
No, but thank you so much. I appreciate you being on, Casey. Your story is awesome. And, I feel like your book's going to be, on crack, your story on crack. I think it's going to be amazing. So
the stories are pretty funny. Like, they're entertaining. I put the FBI raid as one of the first, dude, you got to read that. Like, in and of itself, that's worth the $21 that it's priced at.
Yeah.
But it is chock full. Like, it's 200 and something pages, but of like 9 or 10 point font. I didn't know how to set it up at the beginning. I'm like, dang, like, this is a lot of content. I actually had several people tell me, they're like, you put 3 books in one. You literally could have written 3 books. And I'm like, I guess that's the first time author amateur mistake.
There you go. Yep. There you go. But the main point I think from this is, well, after all those crazy stories, you're still in it. You're still growing, and you're still it works. So I think that's very important for the listeners. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you being on. I'm excited to see you guys grow 15 more units this year, and I'll be watching. I'll be a little cheerleader for your Dude Mance.
Awesome, man. Hey, thanks so much. Really appreciate it, and appreciate the support, right? Anything. And if you do buy the book, please give me a review. That's my only ask.
Yep.
And it's a great gift for investors or somebody who's looking to get in, because literally it's a step-by-step book for landlords. There aren't very many of those out there.
Exactly. It's for you real estate agents out there. It's a good gift for your investors.
That's right.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much again, and we'll be hearing from you soon.
You got it. Thanks.